What are they doing? Sounds like someone's taking a shower.
Sounds crazy upstairs right now. Demon down! Okay, hopefully the children will be quiet, aka the dogs. What's up, guys? Welcome to an all-new episode of Unwrapped. I have missed you. It's been too long. I'm Daria.
And I'm Toni.
We're going to be talking a lot of fun things today. We're talking about the household. We're talking about hobbies. We're talking about career and parenting, getting things done versus enjoying life, because it's something that's a common topic in our household every single day. I think we should start with talking about hobbies versus getting things done.
Yeah.
And what does that balance look like?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to self-admittedly start this by saying that having a hobby and doing things that don't proactively enhance the work life is very hard for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie. And I think this is a reason, to chat about it, because I feel like we're coming at it from two very different places. Number one, like two different roles in our relationship, right? I would be considered more of like the stay-at-home wife or the stay-at-home mom. Although I do things with you for work, but I don't look at it like work, to be honest with you. But I do feel like it's, and I know I'm not the only one, because I see my TikTok algorithm knows, guys. And it knows that I am in my 30s and I stay at home and I don't proactively go out and work to make money.
Right.
However, with that being said, I do, and I know I'm also not the only one in this, where I'm very pulled towards old-fashioned ways of living, like cooking, and I want to clean my house, and that brings me happiness. And then in the spring, like right now, gardening and animals outside and making things beautiful with flowers, but then also vegetables and, all of these kind of things. But having that constant pull to where I'm like, well, I also need to make money. It's just like, and I think that this is probably a broader topic, but I know that there's so many people that relate with me. Yeah. Like it's like you're pulled towards these very nomadic, old-fashioned lifestyle tendency. I don't even know what you would call it, because I'm calling it a hobby. I call gardening like a hobby, but then I'm also like, it's like my job, because like I take care of these things. Yeah. That's when the topic, I feel like for us personally, all the time we have this topic of like, is it a hobby, or am I allowed to feel good about dedicating time, money, and energy into doing these things because it's part of my job?
So I think a lot of like the debate nowadays, it's a very different world than how our parents grew up and how we grew up in our households.
Right.
Like, so growing up, my mom did work and my dad worked, but they were also divorced. So like my mom had to work for us until she married my stepdad, and he worked as well. But like, so I did see a working mom, but I also primarily was dependent financially on my dad. Like my dad was the one that provided financially. Right. Your mom was a stay-at-home mom, and your dad worked, right? He was the provider.
Yeah, but to be fair, my mom had no hobbies and also didn't garden and didn't cook.
Right. But wait, I'm getting to the point. The point is that I think we're in a modern day society where there is no one formula that works anymore.
Agreed.
It's different for every household. And for us, like when we met, you were working.
Yep.
You hadn't been working long, but the last like few years you were working, because you had always been a stay-at-home mom, of course. But you were working at a lab and you loved your job. But when we like compared our schedules and income, it just made more sense for me to work, because I had to work anyway, and for you to stay home and, hold down the fort, take care of the kids, take care of the animals, take care of the house, and also lean into the things that you naturally love.
Yeah.
Which is homemaking, cooking, gardening.
Like the most basic biatch.
No, but you love it. And like, that's what...
Well, I think there's an overwhelming cultivation of these women right now. It's the most common joke, I feel like, on TikTok right now, of like, oh, my wife wants chickens and a farm and a homestead. Like,
yes.
And I really feel like it's because society got one way where everyone was just like life was so fast paced, and both parents working because you need to make more money to keep up with the Joneses next door. And like, I feel like now we're reversing a little bit as a society, the women I follow on TikTok anyway. I mean, the algorithm knows. But
I feel like there's like a constant pressure, and I've seen it through you, like where it's like, you feel like based on what you see on social media, that's not enough sometimes. And I hate that connotation.
Yeah. I'm like, I want to just garden and really enjoy it, but everyone else is filming it all the time and creating all this beautiful content. And I'm just gardening.
And
because they're like,
trying to be an influencer.
Yeah. Or like doing it and like making like hustling from it. And yeah, it is like definitely like a pressure all the time of like,
right.
I want to just enjoy these things. But if I'm not doing something to productively call it work or work towards making money
then
or
it's
something,
not valid.
Then it's not valid.
And I hate that stigma because it's one thing. Listen, if you're lazy and you're not doing anything and your household can't survive off of one income, then I believe like the other person's got to step up. You both got to work. You got to do what you got to do. You got to support your family. Mm-hmm. But in a case and scenario where the provider can provide and your natural calling is towards the things that are at home, like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I do the same thing. I scroll and I see, the hustle and the grind, and it kind of like paints a false reality of what everyone's doing, because what you're seing is like 1% of like reality, when like the people in your daily life are working normal jobs and living, more normal lives. And it's like, we get so caught up in the rabbit hole of social media and comparison. And I hate that. But I think over the past few years, we've done a really good job of finding that balance more recently than ever.
Yeah.
Of like, Toni really like basking and enjoy. I don't want to speak for you. I want you to tell your side of things. But from my perspective, I've been really seeing you enjoy and kind of sink into where you feel happiest in life. Mm-hmm. Being the gardening. And like, that's such an underrated providing factor, because the fact that we don't have to go to the grocery store to get eggs anymore, and we have fresh chicken eggs.
Well, can we talk about the fact I went food shopping yesterday?
Yes.
And last week we got 3.5 dozen eggs from our chickens.
Yep.
And this has never happened before, because last year, I think I'm just still learning about, chickens and ducks and everything. But last year, our chickens were still little. They were, over the summer.
Yeah, they weren't producing that.
Right. Well, by summer, they were in their, 20 to 40 week range over the summer. And I thought that meant full grown, like this is as many eggs as we're going to get. It was like 2 eggs on a good day. Like it wasn't that many.
They weren't all laying. Yeah.
Now this year, I'm realizing now that they really all just started laying, we're getting 6-7 eggs a day. And we only have 7 chickens. Like, that's amazing.
Right.
So yesterday, my point, I went, last week we got 3.5 dozen. Yesterday, I went shopping at Trader Joe's and they had no eggs on the shelf. And it was like, we're so sorry. Yeah. And I was like, wow, look at that. It makes me want to get more chickens. But I'm like, oh, we're not going to get that many eggs till next year now, from all the new chickens. But I am going to hatch chicks. Because, well, actually, we even said it. We wanted to be able to provide, this was like the first step is, everyone starts with chickens. They're cute. They're easy. The easiest pet in the entire world. I recommend for everyone to get them. They're so fun. But we only had chickens at first. We went and got a rooster because we were like, as our chickens die or stop producing eggs, we need more. And we want to be able to like
procreate.
Procreate. So we are going to do some baby chicks.
Yeah. So you have the eggs that is so valuable to me. And again, I'm not home enough and I'm not in that mindset of providing and taking care of the chickens, which you do. Mm-hmm. And then last year with the gardening, mind you, it was trial and error. Like we have to figure out like the right compost and the right soil methods, etc. Yeah. But you were producing vegetables, fruits, all kinds of different things out of that garden. And I think that is so cool. And I appreciate that when you're coming in excited with your huge zucchini and you're like, we're going to eat this tonight. Like, I love that.
And I look at it like, oh my God, I just slaved over this zucchini plant for the last 4 months and finally got one big zucchini and I get to make, half a meal out of it. I'm like, what am I going to do with this one zucchini?
I know.
And then sometimes I get so excited. I'm like, well, I have to do something good, like fried zucchini, but I don't have time tonight. So I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and we end up eating out. And then the third day comes and now it's like rotted on the counter.
Yeah. But that was like first year of gardening. I feel like this year we're gonna go to Lowe's or Home Depot and we're gonna get some things to spruce up our garden. We're gonna mix in some different soil. We learned last year our soil was like so compacted that nothing was like growing.
It was literally growing and like the roots were like popping up out of the ground and then they would just not grow anymore. And it was because of the soil.
It was too dense.
Yeah.
Because
So
it
we're
was
gonna
like
freshen that up this year.
it was like 1/3 dirt, 1/3 soil, and 1/3. What was the other thing?
It was
Sand?
1/3 topsoil, 1/3 sand, 1/3 compost, which should ideally be good. I had it delivered from a company.
Yeah.
Daria wanted to kill me because we had
Bruh.
4 huge raised garden
No,
beds.
they dumped a mound, not a pile, a mound of this 3-part mixture in my driveway on the asphalt. Okay. So for like a month, I couldn't back my car out of the garage because they put it right behind the garage door. And then Toni and I had to get our wheelbarrows and shovels and fill it up. It took us like
25 wheelbarrow trips. 25 full wheel. And we've got a big wheelbarrow.
And it is, are you saying wheelbarrow?
Wheelbarrow.
What?
Wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow. Oh,
Barrel.
you're so Long Island. Wait, say it.
Wheelbarrow.
Sounds more adorable now.
I don't know.
Well, I got the Jersey accent too, so there's no right. But anyway, it took us forever. It took us like hours and hours and hours, but it was fun and it was worth it.
And then nothing grew.
Well,
And that was after I planted seeds inside like 4 months earlier.
Nothing grew. She's being dramatic. Things grew. We got a couple cherry tomatoes.
Yeah, you go out there, you get like 4 a day. You're like, what am I going to do with these 4 cherry
We could have kept like a little mouse full for like a month. You did good.
You should have just left everything in there so it would have made nice fertilized soil for this year.
What did you do? Rip it all out?
Kind of. Oh, I mean, I let a lot of it rot in there, to be honest with you.
Interesting. Well, I don't have a green thumb and I have no business being in the garden. I'm just here for labor and hands and muscle to help Toni in whatever venture she wants to partake in as she steps into my world to participate in my adventures. So it's kind of like a revolving door. We help each other out. But I want to talk about hobbies because we talked about the dynamic of that being a hobby for you, but also part of your purpose.
Right.
Like that gives you joy, fulfillment, and purpose. I've always struggled in this area because, well, I started working when I was 13. My first job was at a 5 and 10 store, which some of you Gen Zers might not even know what that is. It's like a mom and pop version of Five Below. Okay. It was in my hometown. It was the only place that would hire me at 13. I worked the cash register or helped customers when they came in looking for a spool of yarn or whatever. And then I went on to work at a pizzeria, work at a clothing store, work at my dad's company, etc. I was working from a very young age. I was a hustler. You were too. You worked young. Mm-hmm. And I just always saw my dad's work ethic, which Toni knows to this day. He cannot sit still, as I think many men of that generation too. And I'm very much the same way. I emulate it very closely. And I have a hard time kind of unplugging from work. So when it comes to hobbies, I always like sneakily find hobbies that also progress my life forward.
You're like, today I would really enjoy, like, what is a hobby? Is it doing something because you just enjoy it?
Right.
But you'll be like, today it's going to be 60 degrees for the first time this year. And you're like, I'm going to wash the car. Like, is that a hobby? Or do we?
I think it can be. And you just said something so interesting. And I agree with you. Thank you. I'm going to use this against you later. As long as you enjoy it, it's a hobby. So
you working is not a hobby.
It's not a hobby, but it is enjoyment and fulfillment. So therefore,
do you not need the hobby?
I might not need that many hobbies.
Maybe that's what it is.
That's the thing. Like we have real estate properties. We're landlords and we self-manage and we do a lot. And like that for me is a giant hobby. Does it make us money? Yes. Do I really enjoy it? Also, yes. So like maybe my day job, but even like podcasting, this is part of my job now. Do I enjoy it? Yes. But I think that's the beautiful thing about life is that, there's that famous quote, you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always lived. Like, I knew my personality. I could never sit behind a desk 9 to 5. It's just not my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do find marketing and certain desk jobs like super interesting and I would love to be in those fields, but I know how I am. And so I always kind of picked career paths, although they were extravagant and crazy, that would fulfill me.
Right.
Because I just wanted to have fun.
Right.
And even though my dad worked old school for his family company, built it to what it is, he works in construction, highway construction more specifically, he loves what he does.
Yeah.
And he's with us and he's never off the clock because he runs the company and he'll be answering 32 phone calls, while we sit down for dinner. but he loves it. It's always like, hey, Frankie, yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's because it's all his like friends that he's been, become his friends because he's been with them for so long. And, but I think that it also, I think it depends a lot on, he's owning a business.
Right.
Like I think that.
But that's like entrepreneurship too. That's like running the buildings and the real estate. Like that's all just entrepreneurship. In a sense, it's like you can create what you love.
Yeah.
And also make it your job. And like washing cars, like I think that's a hobby, but I like it to your point because it progresses forward. It does something. It makes my car clean. It, makes me happy to drive around in a clean car and have a good presentation if we're going to meetings or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be fair, I think that that's like a very similar ground because I don't know that I call gardening my hobby. I call having the chickens are starting to produce so much more. And now that there aren't eggs in the store, I find a lot of that's very productive for us. But the ducks, on the other hand, don't provide us with anything. So I call the ducks a hobby.
That's true. Income producing value producing hobbies. We'll name them.
I love that.
Value producing hobbies is what we're into.
Because I'm like you, where like I can't do, like there's some people that can sit and do those little diamond. So Valentina, our little one, started one. It's like paint by number, but it's with little rhinestones. Okay. And she's
not the one you do?
She started it. And when you were away, I was just telling you last night, when you were still traveling for work, I would get very bad. I'm calling it anxiety. I don't know what it would be when I would get into bed at night when I was alone.
Right.
And from whatever reason it is, I would have a very hard time being able to relax enough to go to sleep. So I went in there and took it out of her room because you were gone for like a week.
Yeah.
Literally a week, I think. And I took it out of her room as something mindless that I could do while listening to My 600-Pound Life was my binge watch of the week that week. And I did do it, but I did feel like I am so mindlessly wasting my time right now sitting here. But I had to do something that was mindlessly wasting my time because I'm trying to quiet my mind enough to fall asleep because my anxiety was so like revved up, I couldn't relax.
I think those hobbies are important too. That's
so I don't, but for a time and a purpose. But even when I'm sitting there doing this, I'm like, I can't believe that there's people that sit there during the day and do like, I would never be able to dedicate time, but maybe because I also feel like I have 10,000 things to do every day. We have a big house and a lot of animals running through it and kids and shoes and dirt. And I'm cleaning a lot. So I feel like there's just, if I was giving up doing something productive, even gardening, I'd call it productive. Because
wait, I figured out a hobby for you. I know what your hobby is. You read fiction books. That's a hobby.
But not at home. When do I read? I read on a plane. I read sitting by a pool on vacation, sitting by our pool. I will never like make it like the idea of making a tea and going and sitting down and reading a book like sounds amazing. But when I'm going throughout my day,
you can't.
I can't.
See, I can't even read fiction books. That's how neurotic I am because I'm like, if I'm reading, this has to contribute somehow, some way to my life. So I read nonfiction, usually motivation or business or whatever. Yeah. What's that one you read part of it already?
How to Win and Influence People.
So how to win and influence people, which I hate the title of that book. And the title turned me off. We've had it in our house for over a year. Yeah. And I haven't touched it because I hated the name. Then I heard my favorite entrepreneur, one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Alex Hormozy, talk about it. And I was like, well, if he's into it, maybe I'm into it too. So I'm giving it a try. I'm only on like page 15. So to be determined, I'll let you know.
So for me, I read nonfiction only, but I read fiction. I'm sorry. I read fiction only, but in certain circumstances. So I'll have a month where I'll read 5 books if I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
But then I'll have then I won't read again for 4 months because at home on my daily life, like I don't dedicate time to that. But I like to listen to nonfiction because I can pop that in. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll listen to it while I'm cleaning or
driving or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I find that
because I can't even give listening time to a nonfiction book.
Fair. I did just think of a hobby that I don't think contributes or produces value.
Golf.
I love to golf.
But you know what? You're also an athlete.
Gonna catch me.
Yeah, you're also an athlete that loves to move your body and work out. And you know what? You know that golf is doing that.
Yeah, fair.
So I almost feel like...
I also feel like it kind of hurt my shoulder last year.
Really?
Yeah. When you, come from an MMA background or a pro wrestling background, then you decide you want to enter in the sport of Zen golf. you kind of swing like you're swinging to knock someone's head off. So oftentimes, as Toni can attest to, I'm pretty decent at golf, but not great. But when I was first starting, I would swing like I was trying to take someone's head off. And when you miss the ball, it's painful.
Yeah.
My whole body, I mean, sometimes I would almost send my body into like the next T zone.
Yeah, I'm pretty competitive when it comes to golf.
But we have fun doing it, and I really do enjoy
We don't have fun doing it.
You don't like it.
Only you do.
I misspoke.
My wife
Well,
does
when
like
you're
it.
so bad at golf like me and you've got people watching you because you're taking
Guys,
forever and
can
you
I
miss
please?
the tee like 20 times before you actually hit it and then you finally hit it and it goes so far into the woods, you're just doing massive amounts of cardio the entire time trying to find your ball. It's just not fun.
Can I demo your swing?
I'll stay seated.
Guys, she is so one of a kind.
I am
She's unique.
stiff, high strung, and you
I've
see it in a
never
golf swing.
seen a golf posture like this. And mine is not great. So I am not like, as an expert here, hating. Just as a fellow amateur rookie, appreciating my wife's golf swing. Her whole body moves as one. There is no like fluidity. It is one body and the whole thing moves like this.
I hope you guys can see it in the frame. I love you so much.
It's my favorite thing.
I don't like golf.
And I love your local.
I don't like golf.
She
I
hates
don't
it.
like going.
She
I
bought
don't.
me a for Christmas
Mhm.
this fancy golf package to a course near us that has like, well, it's a resort near us that has like 10 courses or whatever, and you get one play at each course. And she bought me like the whole pack, and it comes in a little thing with the label on it because each course is a little different surroundings and theme or whatever. And it's really cool, and I can't wait to use it. But it's too cold. Actually, it's about to be warm enough. And I like golf because I do have a handful of people that I can go golfing with that we know. And it's good. Haven't done it yet in Jersey. I used to do it in Florida with my friends. But it's a good socialization time with people that maybe I wouldn't like, I don't know, schedule a dinner with if we're just on the hustle. But I'd like to go golfing with them. Like my old trainer that helped me rehab my ACL.
Yeah.
Mike, like he's a big golfer, and I'd love to go golfing with him.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. We talked about it last week.
So I feel like this is the perfect time. There's something else we've been chatting about a lot lately, and I feel like this would be such a ironic moment to bring this into
Sorry,
play.
tell me, what is it?
We've been talking so much lately about our like roles in our house.
Right.
And I feel like this is such a clear definition of like, we also get asked all the time about like our masculine versus feminine, like who's the boy, who's the girl.
Right.
To break
Yes.
it down into like
People
the way
are
we're actually
confused, and
asked.
we look alike.
And
We
I-
look like twins. We know. We've heard.
Yeah. But if we could talk about it here, like you want to wash cars and go golfing as your hobby, and I want to garden and
It's so
clean the house as mine.
I want to like reiterate this because like it's so clearly defined in traditional, husband and wife roles. Obviously, we're both two women, and we both have a lot of feminine qualities. But I think I just grew up, like we've said before on previous episodes, I really grew up to emulate my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He was the hustler and the breadwinner in my family, and I really just grew up emulating him. Toni grew up seeing her mother do the stuff at home more.
And wanting to do the opposite of that.
No, but that's what you took to. You never once looked at your dad and was like, I'm going to do that when I'm older.
No.
Your dad ran a business and it was very male dominated, and he actually said no women from the family were allowed to work at the company, right?
Yeah, and it was a huge family business that was passed on from generations, and
To the
not a
men.
single woman in the family was ever allowed to work there. Women work there, but not only in the office, not in the field, and it could never be anybody from the family.
Interesting.
But my dad also equated that too, because when I was young, I would ask if I could go work there, like when I was like 14, 15, I
Right.
wanted to. And he said no. And his reasoning was it's in such a bad area, the office, that he didn't want.
It's all men. He said it was like a
Yeah, it's
boys'
all
club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they had like porn magazines on top of the toilet until the day that they sold it, probably.
Yeah. So let me bring up an interesting point, not to divert the topic, but this is interesting. So my dad had very similar family business to Toni's dad. And there was never like a rule like the women couldn't work there. My aunts worked in the office, but my dad would not let my sister work there. But the second, and I assumed I also wasn't allowed to work there. But when I was 15, I'd worked 2 or 3 jobs not under my dad. And I was like, wait, why don't I just work for my dad? So I was like, Dad, can I work at the office? He's like, yeah, sure. But it was funny because I think looking back, and I could ask my dad, we could ask my dad this, we could have Ricky B on an episode of Unwrapped. I think he saw me always, not necessarily masculine because I wasn't, but like, I think I had a more masculine presence about me that he knew I wasn't going to go there and
have any issues.
You know, my sister was more like, you know, girly and whatever, not to say she would have any issues, but I think he just knew like Daria's going to be fine. I could throw her anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he threw me. Let me just tell you, my dad owns a big highway construction company, you know, hundreds of employees, and they have like a big shop there where they keep all the parts and, you know, they service the trucks and everything. And my first job at his company, which I love this because I respect this as a parent now, working from the ground up. He didn't just put me in the office as like an accountant or a secretary or whatever. He had me working in the parts shop, which was a 12 by 12 closet with greasy parts that were organized in alphabetical order. Well, no, they weren't until I worked there. My first assignment was go in the parts shop and organize all the parts in alphabetical order.
Terrible.
And I mean, like my hands were covering. I loved it. Like, give me a task. I can do it. I'm not picky. I just wanted to make money. And that was my first job. And then after I was done working in the shop for like 6 months, he was like, all right, you can work in the office with your aunts now and do some filing and whatever. And so then I moved over. But yeah, my upbringing and being around that from a young age was the reason why I do have more masculine tendencies now. Like I'm not lying when I say like I really love washing the cars. Like,
yeah,
I love washing the cars. I love going golf. I love
taking the trash out.
I hate taking the trash out. I lost that. I don't know what happened with that side of my masculinity.
Well, I don't think any guy likes.
To be fair though, I enjoy taking the trash out when it's nice out. I just don't like it when it's snowing and cold and freezing and I'm slipping on ice up our driveway.
I don't like it ever.
And you truly are an amazing cook, an amazing bake, and you love doing it.
I'm an amazing
baker. I walk upstairs, like I'll have gone downstairs to like work out or something. I'll walk up and she's like souffleing like homemade cornbread, homemade banana bread. Like you just like whip it up like it's nothing. Like if I were going to bake, I would have to Google and research for like an hour and read the recipe like to the T. Like, all right, half a cup of like it would be, I would have to try and put a lot of effort. Toni does it like flawlessly.
Thanks, babe.
So do you feel like you leaning more towards like the feminine roles in our house, like that's just what comes natural to you? Like, what is it?
So I feel like this has been an evolution for us to get to the point we're at right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't come like easy. It didn't come easy, I should say. But I don't think that it comes easy in any relationship because naturally I'm the more feminine one. Naturally you would have the more masculine traits, whatever. Right. But I think past trauma or past situations forces us to be certain ways
100%.
To protect or feel independent or get through situations.
Yep.
So when we first came together, it was very much like I don't want to say power struggle because that sounds very dramatic, but I feel like I was like, no, I'm independent too. And I can make these, not even making decisions, but just like when you have two energies that are both like the more masculine ones, it
can butt heads.
You need a balance, and the balance can look like anything. Yeah. And I think every single relationship needs a balance.
It's got to be 50-50, but in what areas, right? So like in some areas you're 20, I'm 80. In some areas I'm 80, you're like vice versa.
Right. But I feel like over this last like year, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what makes a good relationship. And I think everyone should do that. Like, even if it's a man and a woman or whatever, like,
I think it's having the conversation, like you just said, and this is what we worked on for so long, is like, what's expected of me? And what should I expect of you? Like, what are the expectations in our house? Who does what? Not in the sense of like ego or anything like that, in the sense of like what makes our house run more efficiently.
But yes. But I feel like that's like one, it's like, how do you end up with like the perfect relationship? I feel like I think we talked about this on the love languages. I'm like, feeling loved is only one part. And I almost feel like this could be like added to that, not even on purpose, but this could be like another part. It's like figuring out the balance in, I'm not actually sure if roles is the same thing as masculine and feminine energy. I don't know if those should be two separate ones, but whatever. I feel like, because I feel like with the masculine and feminine energy, that's like a feeling, and it's like, what can I do for you to make you feel feminine? It's me taking control of when we need to get a new car, like, let me get you a new car, right, instead of me being like, no, I can pick out my own car. Like, I hate picking out cars. Like, I hate dealing with anything like that. So like,
right,
that works out amazing. But is that the same thing as like, all right, I'll take out the garbage and I'll do the laundry? I think that there may be different, because I feel like
some are like more emotional, like some are more, we're choosing to do things for each other because we emotionally, it fulfills our needs.
And it makes us feel very balanced and secure, and like we're never fighting against each other.
And then other stuff is more just practical. Mm-hmm. And it's like, listen, I got to get up at this time with the kids. So can you please make sure the trash is out by 6 a.m. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it's just more like schedule based and like what needs to get done.
Yeah.
But to be transparent with you guys, like Toni was saying, like, it took us a while to figure that out. And it really was a series of conversations and arguments of like,
well, yes. And I feel like it took us a while to even figure out that there was an issue, because in the beginning, everyone talks about the honeymoon phase, and then the honeymoon phase wears off.
Right.
Well, because I feel like in the honeymoon phase, this just took a weird turn. I don't know, but I feel like you want to do what you think your partner needs all the time.
Right.
You know? And then that wears off, and then we go back into like our selfish ways, and it's like, well, I need this, and that, instead of always being like, what can I do for you?
Yep.
But I almost feel like you're on best behavior. You're on trying to do for the other person. So the other person is feeling, you know, whatever. And then that phase wears off. And then you come to like the realization of like, all right, actually I need this, and actually I need this. And sometimes it's like in our situation, I feel like I didn't know myself. We're all getting to know Toni here, right?
Yep.
This is the common theme of this podcast
journey.
Yes. So I feel like you know me better. So it was actually a conversation between us when you had to literally be like, I think you would be much happier if you leaned into all of this stuff more. Did we talk about this
on Love Languages?
I don't remember, but I know we talked about it. But guys, we filmed like 15 episodes
that we
didn't air because
the audio was bad or something was bad.
Yeah, audio or video quality or whatever. So I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but I do feel like it's important enough for like, I don't say we want to give relationship advice, but if there's one thing we learned,
yes,
it was, and I think especially in like a lesbian situation, it's really good to understand those.
Yeah, because when you're gay,
dynamics.
It's interesting. It's like,
there's not one that's supposed to be one thing. It's very
But there
fluid.
are more profound dynamics, and I have friends and we know people that like there's one clear masculine in the relationship and one very clear feminine.
But
when you and I got together, it was very much like, well, we're both feminine. We both can be strong and independent too. Like, you know, we both had a little of each, but we lean in more one way or the other.
But I feel like something big with like our situation are like, you know, two girls, it's like you can be as masculine as you want, but like there's still like a woman in there that needs like emotional support. And like,
yeah.
So like that's something that needs to be like, you carry more of the masculine traits. And it took a very long time for me. I'm still trying to figure it out. And we went through this yesterday where like, you're like, I still just sometimes need you to be really soft and sweet with me and make me feel better. Like a guy would never say that, you know, but like there's still woman emotions and hormones inside of there. So even more reason that I think you have to talk about it.
Well, yes, it's a very unique, and every relationship's unique because you have men that are more feminine, men that are more masculine, and you know, same with women. So it's like, what is your dynamic? What works best for you guys, and what like fills your cup at the end of the day? Because especially in this day and age, there's no right and wrong. It's just a matter of what makes you feel good as a couple, as a partnership that can be long lasting and successful in anything that you want to do. So
I also feel like a really big takeaway as I'm like sitting here thinking about this more is that when you go into a relationship and you get into a fight, it's very easy to get into this like selfish mindset of like, I need this, I need you not to do this, I need blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm reminding myself of this, but also I feel like it's a huge thing across the board that I think everyone gets in those mindsets.
Right.
But you have to understand that when you get into a partnership, it's like a partnership and you need to look at them before yourself.
The relationship comes before the individual.
Because if I live with what can I do for you to make you happy, you're living with what can you do for me, like we're going to be really fucking happy.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest like
famous
demise.
words to live by. Mm-hmm. What can I do for you? Mm-hmm. I love that. All right, guys. we're going to wrap it up here, but we can't leave without doing our unwrapped sour challenge.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Toni's in the hot seat today. I have questions for her that are going to help you get to know Toni better. That's what today is all about. So babe, stick a sour blue ball in your mouth and I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh my God, my mouth's watering already. Hold on, I got to take a sip of my kombucha.
Definitely not boosh. Definitely kombucha.
No, it's not.
It's definitely kombucha. It's not kombucha.
Yes, it is.
Let us know in the comments.
Kombucha.
All right. Are you ready?
Ooh, no. All right. Not embracing. I'm becoming.
Embodying.
Shayna. I always just think of her when she just doesn't get phased.
Shayna Badass Baszler.
Yeah.
Doesn't get phased by the sour candy. All right, let's go. Pop her in. Oh yeah, let it soak. Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla.
Morning shower or night?
Night.
Introvert or extrovert?
Intro.
Sweats or a dress?
Sweats.
Ducks or chickens?
Duck.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Shopping or a movie?
Movie.
Movie theater or movie at home?
Home.
Sour candy or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Yeah, definitely now. Roses or sunflowers? Top or bottom?
Depends on the day.
Thank you guys for joining us on an all new episode of Unwrapped. We love you. As always, I'm Daria. You good? That's Toni, my beautiful wife. And guys, follow us over on Patreon. Subscribe to our Patreon account to support and show us your love. We are doing really fun stuff on there every single week, including an exclusive group chat with me and Toni. You can talk to us daily. Once a month, a Q&A live with us and weekly bonus episodes of Unwrapped, not just one, but multiple. So go head over to Patreon. The link is below and show us some love. Like, comment, subscribe below on YouTube and let us know what you guys want to hear next. We love you and we'll see you next time.
Bye.